And we're back. Welcome, guys, to our first edition of Tuesday Night Live for 2017 and our first CrowCast for 2017 as well. We've got the usual suspects with us tonight with Pete heading us up. How you going, Pete?
I'm good, Phoenix, and welcome to everybody. Hope you have had a good summer's break and ready to get back into some footy talk. And Nikki, how are you tonight?
A little sore, but I'm in pre-season just like the boys and the girls are.
What do you mean just like the boys and the girls? If you're not a boy or a girl, what are you?
I mean AFL sides.
Oh, I see. I thought you were implying you're a lady or something.
Nah.
Be very careful, Phoenix, because the social justice warriors, they are fired up at the moment. They'll come and get you.
No,
They'll beat you.
Uncle Donald says it's all right for me to be an arsehole now. If the President of the United States can be an arsehole, so can I, surely. Pete got so offended he disconnected.
That's all that deserved.
You see, this is what happens.
No, you got cut off by
everywhere.
You got cut off by the unpolitically correct police. This is not a PC show, mate.
No, it shouldn't be a PC show. But I think that I reckon probably anybody that ever follows me on Twitter would be absolutely sick to death of my tweeting over the last month or so. And I know I am happy to get back to a bit of football talk.
I think I actually muted you or blocked you or something.
I can't believe I've still got the same amount of followers that I had late last year after all the crap that I've been putting on there. Anyway, let's not get sucked into that horrible, massive vortex of rubbish and politics. This is a sports podcast, and it's great to have everybody along, and I'm sure that everybody would be listening with the hope they'll get a little bit of relief from all the rubbish that's going on in the world. So let's keep it to football, and we're very, very excited to be back. It's going to be another great year on the podcast. Phoenix, what have you got for us there coming up this year?
Well, we've got a few things lined up this year. Obviously, we're going to be back with our usual format. So we're going to have our Sunday night review show. We're going to have our Tuesday night chat and our Thursday night preview show. We're also going to attempt, and I'd put that in massive quotation marks, we're going to attempt halftime shows, Pete, where we give halftime shows. So the idea is basically at halftime, whether you're at the game or whether you're at the pub or you're at home, halftime we're 5 goals down against Geelong and we haven't manned up their extra player out the back again. We're going to be running, a 20-minute show, 5 minutes worth of stats, a bit of a rant, and then hopefully if people engage with us, we'll have Twitter feed going, we'll have Facebook going, we'll have Skype going, we'll have phone going. People can interact with us during the halftime break, tell us how bad we're going, tell us what Pikey should be doing, reinforce my views on JJ, wonder again why McKay's playing, all those things. And we're just going to run with it and see how it goes, mate. It could die in the arse or it could be a bit of fun. So stay tuned for that. We'll probably trial it during the pre-season and see how it goes. And, depending on how it goes during pre-season, we'll see whether we continue it during the main season or not.
Mate, that's absolutely enormous. It's a huge thing for the podcast to be doing that, and it's a pretty good initiative, I think. We'll look forward to that one. Nikki, what are your thoughts?
Well, I kind of hope that they've improved the Wi-Fi connections at Adelaide Oval, because sometimes it can be a bit interesting trying to connect in.
Yeah. Well, if they can if we can run a bloody podcast on the smell of an oily rag, surely Adelaide Oval Stadium Media Authority, if you're listening, get your bloody Wi-Fi sorted. It's 50,000 people. They all want to connect, so just get your capacity up and running, please.
Well, that's a huge bit of news, Phoenix. Now, the other thing that I just wanted to touch upon, and just early days, but for the listeners that have joined us this evening, is that I understand that the podcast crew is going to be granted an audience at the Adelaide Football Club. Do you want to talk us through a little bit about that?
Yeah, mate. Well, briefly, members of the listening group that are from Big Footy will know that over the past couple of seasons there's been representation down at the club, and a few people have sat around with the CEO and had a chat about things. Last year it kind of went off the rails a little bit in terms of feedback, so we've put it all together again this year, and we're actually meeting with Andrew Fagan and Ian Shuttleworth, who's the media manager down there, next Thursday. And the following podcast, so not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after, we'll be presenting the outcome of that meeting. Basically, it's an opportunity for the club to get some views and some feedback from the fans, and in turn for us as fans to give some feedback to the club. And obviously we had massive engagement from the club last year in terms of player interviews, for which we're eternally grateful, and obviously we'll be looking to continue that this year, which they've given the undertaking that they will be happy to do, so we'll be talking about that as well. So what we plan to do over the next week and a bit is we've already opened a thread on Big Footy asking people for their desired questions. We'll be doing similar on our Twitter feed, so AFL CrowCast, and also on Facebook, on AFL CrowCast on our Facebook page. So if any of our listeners have got a burning question, something that's been grinding their gears, or a fantastic idea that they'd like us to put to the club, then on Twitter, if you write your suggestion down with the hashtag CrowCastFags, Fages, so CrowCastFags, or if you, we'll put a little post on the CrowCast Facebook page as well, and you can comment underneath that. And next Sunday night we'll be collating all the various questions from Big Footy and our various social media feeds, putting them all together, the most popular ones. Obviously not every question can be asked. Try and keep it civil. And the more thoughtful and the more civil the question is, the more likely it is that it will be asked, and we'll be able to provide an answer from the club Tuesday week. So that's pretty good.
Mate,
Can I just add
Nikki,
to that? It's just something, I saw some of the questions that were coming through on the board, and there were some really good ones there, but there were also a lot of questions that were very specifically related to selection. Just be mindful of our audience. We're meeting with the CEO of the club and the media manager. Neither of them sit on the selection panel. We can't ask them questions about selection. They don't know. They're not going to answer it.
Yeah. I mean, they'll have a general... Fags has a general feel about how the club's going,
Yeah.
but obviously, if we've got 37 injuries and it hasn't been disclosed to the media, they're hardly going to say, oh, yeah, by the way, our whole squad's fucked, or words to that effect. And this isn't obviously a family show. But, things about the club membership, fan engagement ideas, circumstances at the stadium, those sorts of things, general club-related things, are definitely the type of things that Fags is very open about and quite happy to engage in conversation with. So you're dead set right, Nikki. No footy-related questions are probably going to get answered. Club-related questions.
Felix, that's unbelievable. It's a really, really huge thing. So that for all the people out there listening to the Crowcast, what that means is that you can get onto the social media platforms, and actually through the Crowcast you can actually get your views put forward, and the type of views that you're talking about, of course, get those put forward to the Crows at CEO level. It's a pretty amazing development.
Yeah, and kudos to the club. As I said, they've been doing that for the last couple of years, and Andrew Fagan is really keen to engage not only with the membership but also with the wider supporter base. He's very, very keen to engage with those people who can't be, season ticket holders for whatever reason, interstate members, even like the club has actually engaged with our mate American Crow as well with regards to his membership. He's got an international membership. Fags is very keen to engage with anyone who barracks for the Adelaide Football Club. So get your questions in and listen in Tuesday week, and we'll provide as comprehensive set of answers as we possibly can. I'm actually going to ask whether we can record a little bit, but I'm not making any promises there because I highly doubt that that'll be forthcoming, but you never know.
Yeah, good luck with that one. I reckon that might be a bridge too far. But anyway, I hope you can do it. So
Nikki's coming along, so if she wears a low-cut dress and a high-cut skirt, then you never know.
No.
Hang on, they'll be out marching. Watch out. Anyway, so
I'm getting one of them hats, so you better be quiet, Pete.
That's 2 and 10 minutes.
Moving along from that one, I was just going to say that the other thing you touched upon there, Phoenix, and just in terms of the listeners going forward for this year, is that did I hear you say that there's already been a commitment to ensure that there'll be some players supplied for interviews for the CrowCast this year? Did I hear that correctly?
Yep. So we're in communication with Ian Shuttleworth over the off season, who, as I said, is the media manager down there. He was the person who originally gave us access to players back a couple of years ago. People might remember our first one, I think, was Luke Brown, wasn't it?
Yep.
Last year we had at least half a dozen, maybe a couple more than that. And Shuts is very keen for that to continue, very supportive of that continuing. We're going to try and engage with Rod Jamieson down at the club as well to get some past players involved as well. So the weeks that we can't have players, perhaps we can get a past player on if Rod comes to the party. So we'll be talking to Shuts about that on Thursday as well. So, but absolutely, the club is happy that we're reaching the fan base, and they're happy to support us in that regard. So thanks very much to the footy club, and hopefully it'll be even bigger than last year.
Unbelievable news, Phoenix. And so for all the listeners out there, just to repeat that there's a meeting coming up in a couple of weeks' time, with the club at board level or CEO level with the CrowCast, and you can, through the social media platforms, get in touch with the CEO through us. And there's also, make sure you're listening for the rest of the year, because there will be player interviews, possibly past player interviews as well. So there's all sorts of good news there for the CrowCast this year.
Yep, just reiterating. So if you're on Big Footy, just look for the Chat with Fags thread and chuck your question on there. If you're following us on Twitter, just give us a tweet at AFL CrowCast. With your question, make sure you hashtag it CrowCastFags, Fages. And if you're following us on Facebook, AFL CrowCast, then look for the post outlining the meeting and chuck in a comment with your question under that, and we'll collate all of them together. Hope there'll probably be a fair amount of double up, so we'll be able to get most of the questions covered.
All right, well, that's great news. Moving along, we probably should have a chat about a few little issues that have been occurring in and around the AFL, as they have been, and we might start off with the year's first Nicky's News.
Wow. See, production hasn't gotten any better.
Well, apparently people liked us for our production. Well, they liked us maybe in spite of our production values last year. Well, we're still the same.
Oh, Jesus.
I actually haven't been paying that much attention because it's nice to be having a little bit of a break. So I did see that Mummy's out for a little while for Sydney.
Oh, is he?
Which is a very... Yeah, Albo. I mean, GWS. He's moved he moved. He was one of those teams. Yeah. They're in Sydney.
Yeah, well, his absence hurt them last time. He had a bit of an extended break as well. So, it'll be interesting to see how GWS go this year, actually, considering, they've gone from the hunters to the hunted probably. They'll be flag favourites in many books, and it'll be interesting to see how the young list copes with that.
I mean, is there anything else, Pete? What have you... Because you're around that area now, aren't you? You heard anything?
He's gone.
He's run away from us.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. Look, a couple of things that I heard. Obviously, we had the unfortunate series of events with Jimmy Hurd post-season.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say too much about what I think personally, aside from the fact that it's just a very sorry outcome for a very sad state of affairs. If the rumours are true that him and Tanya are no longer together, and whether James's medical circumstances were a cry for help, it's just the whole saga. If you contrast it with the way Cronulla handled their situation and the fact that, whilst Essendon are imploding, Cronulla have won an NRL flag. I mean, talk about a study in how to deal or not deal with a set of circumstances, right?
Well, they fessed up to it straight away and said,
Exactly.
"Yep, we did wrong."
Yeah.
And they got rid of their coach. They got rid of the other staff that were involved in approving it, and they just went, "Nah, not acceptable, you're out." Essendon circled the wagons and said, "No." And it was everybody else's fault except our own.
Well, and let's not forget they had the opportunity to do what Cronulla did too.
They did.
They could have accepted an early plea very early on in the piece. And it's hard to know who was the ego-driven, arrogant person at Essendon that drove their antagonistic approach to the whole thing. But not only did it cost them a couple of years out of the comp effectively, but it nearly cost their favourite son his life. I mean, for God's sake, it's sport in the end, and Cronulla handled it far better than Essendon in retrospect.
Yeah, and then they just slowly flew under the radar, just quietly built themselves back up. It's going to be interesting to see how these players come back. I think they might do well initially, but a year out, it's a long time. And even if they were doing some training, they'll be well underdone. They'll probably hit the wall before the halfway mark.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be an element of freshness about them and enthusiasm, obviously. And they'll have a point to prove, no doubt. I can't see them making the 8 this year. I think they'll make some early waves and they'll take a couple of scalps. But I think you're right, Nicky. I think they'll hit the wall. They've been out of the game, those players, for 12 months, and 12 months is a long time. Look at how Brad Crouch has been slow to come back to his best after having a year or so with bad injuries. It's no different, really. So I think you're right. I think they'll tail off in the second half of the year.
Yeah, just on Crouchy, it was very interesting. I went back and I watched a couple of the games from last year, and very early on in the season, he was very tentative regarding his kicking. He would only kick a certain distance, and I'm watching it going, you can kick longer than that. I know you can. And so obviously he was physically holding back. And he kind of got tired towards the middle, that little bit, and then he got the second win towards the end. Yeah. He played some nice football towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I think he...
Who?
Brad
Sorry,
Crouch.
who?
Brad Crouch.
Come on, Pete.
Sorry, I must have been looking at other matches anyway.
Oi, you.
Anyway, what else has gone on? We got Big Gazza's come back to SEN radio, and got the elephant in the room out of the way early with Mike Sheehan. Did anyone hear that?
No, I didn't, but I certainly saw plenty of it in social media.
Yeah, I heard bits and pieces of it.
To me, that's...
Sorry, go on.
Oh, look, to me, it was a private matter between him and others, and it was none of my business. I have no interest in listening to it. I'm quite happy that he's back.
I think he actually did the right thing by just addressing it. He didn't want to address it, but he recognised that, it was going to be sitting there. Yeah. Like I said, it's the elephant in the room unless he just addressed it. And I think most people have the same attitude as you, Nicky. I certainly do. It's his own personal business, and he's good value on TV. He'll be back on Footy Classified. I think that show really suffered with bloody Hutchins.
Yeah, without him.
Yeah, so having Gary Lyon back in that chair just to moderate that little panel will lift that show to mildly watchable levels. The other media happening that happened, which I'm going to actually take Fagan to task on this, is that Triple M Radio are announcing that they have an exclusive deal as Adelaide's radio partner. Now, I can only assume that means that we'll be able to similarly say that we have an exclusive podcast deal. I want that moniker. If Louis and Jarman can be the official FM mouthpiece of the Crows, then we can be the mouthpiece of social media, I reckon.
All right, you want me to take it?
I reckon you should have a go at that, Phoenix, for sure.
Oh yeah,
Push the
it
bar,
says a
mate.
lot. Your microphone stuffed, mate. It says a lot for 5AA. Haven't they fallen out of favour?
Well, their ratings were dropping.
Yeah. Well,
Is that better?
yeah, that's better, mate.
Yes.
Did I thought I read somewhere that there was some rumours about the fact that there's a bit of money that changes hands, and the money coming from Triple M was significantly greater than 5AA. Is there any truth to that, do we think?
You'd say so.
Well, what I heard was basically 5AA were paying Adelaide and Port the same amount, and Adelaide weren't particularly happy with that, obviously, because we have a far bigger supporter base. And I think whether it was a contributing factor or not, Triple M certainly fessed up with a bit more coin. So, and fair enough too. We're the biggest ticket in town, and we should command the biggest check. So 5AA now with Corns and Rucci and all that down there will probably become the power station.
And the other corns.
Yeah.
What did we have to pay for the meeting, Phoenix?
A muffin?
No, we get paid muffins. We get paid muffins to turn up.
Well, see, there we go.
No, it was just out of the goodness of their hearts, Pete. We didn't have to front up anything.
Very nice, very nice.
Not that I'm aware of. We might get hit with the bill. Just watch the PayPal account.
How do we think that that's going to change media coverage this year, if at all?
I don't. Certainly amongst the radio stations, there's a bit of a shake-up going on. Croc Media are certainly getting their hooks in. Hutchinson's obviously seen an opportunity there, and he's scored a lot of the regional coverage. And I think they
And
have
the SNFL.
Yeah, and I think they have an arrangement with 5AA as well in terms of relays and all the rest of it. So, Triple M have made a play into the sporting arena again. They covered the cricket this year for the first time ever, and it wasn't bad coverage actually, I've got to say.
Yeah, I quite liked it.
It was a little bit like listening to the Big Bash League commentary, a little bit lighter and a little bit not as staid as the ABC, as good as the ABC is. So I think radio's having a resurgence, you know.
How was that commentator that Triple M had that was the English woman? And she had a fantastic voice.
Did she ever?
Just saying.
Oh, I'm trying to remember her name. Yeah, she's one of their top cricketers.
Yeah.
She wasn't. She retired, and now she's gone into commentary. She was good.
Silky voice and very knowledgeable.
Good. Very good.
She was excellent, actually. I thought the whole team.
And that's what you need.
Yep. She didn't
because you had her providing the link and actually calling the cricket. And then you had the colour commentators around her, and she was often asking them a question. Then she'd go, we'll just get back to that after this ball. Talk about the ball being bowled.
I have to say, in all sincerity,
it was really well done.
There's a lot of good female commentary talent coming through in the cricket. Mel, what's her name, last year for the BBL before she got nicked by, who was it, Channel 7. And I can't remember the lady's name or the woman's name that was doing the coverage in the back half of the BBL this year, but she was excellent as well. It's great to see, and you know, if we could get women involved in football commentary that were easy to listen to, and it wasn't a forced thing; they were just naturally knowledgeable about the game and able to converse about the game. It would be fantastic, I reckon, and it will take a little bit of a pull your heads in, boys, attitude by the coverage, I think, to accommodate that. And I think cricket's been very good at fostering that sort of culture in their commentary team.
The interesting thing was Neroli Meadows, when she took over the hosting of the Friday night coverage on Foxtel away from Eddie when Eddie had his little break that he had to have. When she left and Eddie came back, from what I understand, there were a lot of messages that got sent into Foxtel to say, bring Neroli back. We loved her. Yeah. We preferred her hosting that.
And hopefully the advent of the Women's League this year might just enable a few budding female commentators to come through into the mainstream. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably not a bad time. Chatting about the female commentators, probably not a bad lead into the AFL Women's League, which is, of course, getting ramped up and ready to start. Nikki,
starts this Friday.
How do you think it will go?
I think people need to lower their expectations for starters. That you're not going to get AFL quality that we're used to. You're not going to get SANFL quality. You might, maybe reserves SANFL every so often. As long as they lower that expectation, I quite enjoyed watching the exhibition game. Well, not the exhibition game, the trial game that was held between Freo and us. And there was some really nice passages of play, and there was some really not so nice passages of play, but, that's what's going to happen. And for me, it was just kind of fun, and it was very interesting watching my mother start to get really, really angry with the umpire. He's cheating. He's cheating. And I'm sitting there thinking, this might go all right. I think she's on board. And she gets upset every time they refer to it as a ruckman. She's not a ruck man. She's a ruck woman. It's like, Mum, we tell people on the field when we play to man up. So it doesn't bother us because it's quicker to say the woman up, and especially when you've got a mouth guard in. There's been quite a bit of interest. It's going to be interesting to see how many pick up first round. The good thing is that it's free, so that's not holding anybody back. That was quite well done by the AFL. And I reckon the Friday night game, the one that's, I think isn't it Bulldogs and Collingwood?
Yep.
That's going to kick off the stuff on the Friday night game. They're actually expecting quite a decent crowd to that one.
Well, given it's the first game of footy for the season, they might be right. When's our first game? Is it this weekend?
Saturday afternoon.
At Thebby, isn't it?
4:35? Yeah, at Thebby.
Yep.
I just want to know, are we still able to build sandcastles out on the Thebby ground? Because last time we went there was so many patches and it was like sand. It was like, I just kind of want to go out there and build a sandcastle.
Yeah.
Although the boys did that on the weekend.
Just like to say g'day to Damps Good too on the chat. Welcome, mate. It's good to have you back.
And he's given us the name of the English commentator. It's Ros Kelly. So thanks,
Ros
Damps
Kelly.
Good.
Cracking commentator.
So is there any interest from you, Pete, to follow it at all? Or is it just going to be something you might kind of look at it if it's on, or...
I think that's the highest I could put it. I might have a look at it if it's on, and I mean that with absolutely no disrespect to the participants, who I think have been rightly encouraged, and I think it's a fantastic development, and I'm absolutely 110% supportive of it. And I've got a daughter too, and I'm thrilled that I don't think she would ever take it up, but I'm thrilled that if she decided to, that she's now got the opportunity to do that. And I think that's brilliant. I just am not particularly interested in it personally. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's fine.
And I don't mean it to be. I don't mean to be offensive in any way, shape, or form. It just doesn't appeal to me personally.
I got to say,
it was kind of funny watching the comments after that first trial game, because this was, I think, the first time a few people had seen it, and the comments I saw on the Big Footy board was, they tackle really hard. And I'm just like going, yeah, it's football. Just because it's girls doesn't mean we don't hit people.
I don't think it'll be lacking in terms of the physicality, because that's an area that the players of any gender can get up to speed with really quick. It'll be the skills and the general, fitness, etc. Pardon me. I'm a bit the same as you, Pete. If a Divi 1 amateur league game was on the telly and I had nothing else to do, I might sit down and watch a quarter of it. And at this stage, I think that's the level that AFL women's footy is at in terms of level of interest. But they have to start somewhere, and we'll certainly be supporting them on the cast. Hopefully, we might get one or two interviews during the season with members of the women's team, because I think it's a great initiative, and once those girls have had a couple of years in the system and been able to develop their AFL or their Aussie rules football fitness, then I think the standard will start to rise quite sharply, and I think it'll become quite an entertaining sport to watch. So that's where I sit on it.
And I really extend significant admiration and congratulations to these participants because, the reality is that they are pioneers.
Absolutely.
And who knows in 100 years' time what it'll look like. We just don't know. But these are women that haven't grown up with the thought that they were going to play football at any kind of this kind of standard. It's come along, and who knows where if this takes hold and generate 3, 4, 5 generations time, where it's just part of the sporting culture, then you may get a very different product.
Yep.
So fantastic that they are pioneers, and I wish them all the very best.
And for a person like Erin Phillips, who grew up loving football and dominating junior football, only to be told at, I think it was under 13 level, sorry, you've got to choose another sport. For her at the tail end of her sporting career to be able to play a game that she obviously loves at the highest level available is fantastic, and she really is a pioneer. She was a women's footballer before it was fashionable, so excellent, and hopefully she can get that quad up and make her way onto the field for the first game. It'd be a real shame if she missed the first game.
She's not missing it for anything, is what I've been informed.
I wouldn't have thought so.
Yeah, nothing is going to hold her back. She has wanted to do this for such a long time, and she's throwing everything she can at it to do it. And what a lot of people need to understand with this is that these women they're having to come in and they're having to train more than what they ever have before, and they're still having to work. And so whilst our players, the men's team, this is their job. They work 9 to 5. Well, actually, it's earlier than that for them on, most days a week. And for these girls, I think there was one of the little clip they put up today, and was one of the girls, she actually works in the Adelaide City Council. She's up at 6 in the morning to go to work. She finishes at 3, goes home, has a nap, and needs to be down there for training at 5.
Yep.
And even on the weekend where the first trial game, when they rocked up before the game, and there were the massage tables all laid out, and there were the ice vessel laid out, and everything's there, and they looked around and they went, "This is for us." They were just absolutely blown away that this was done for them. For the first time ever, they had a nutritionist actually telling them, "This is what you need to eat. Here's all your drinks that are prepared for you." It's just been they are so thankful for what it is, but I think there's also an awful lot of nerves around it as well. To me, the best thing about it is that the season starts so early, is that these players, once the season's finished, they're then going to go back to the local clubs.
Yeah.
And they're going to bring that knowledge to the local clubs. And you get to play with this person, and that will increase the numbers. You increase the numbers, you increase the pool, you increase the skills.
Yeah.
For once the AFL has done something right.
Except for the logo.
Except for the logo. The bloody pink. The salmon.
That's fantastic.
Well, hopefully we can get a couple of the players on.
It's so well done.
Hopefully we can get a couple of the players on for a chat this year. Phoenix would be...
Love to have a chat to Erin.
Yeah, look, it'd be fantastic. And Chelsea, what's her surname? Chelsea
Randall.
Yeah.
Chelsea Randall. She's supposed to be our franchise player.
She's our marquee.
So it'll be good to get hold of Chelsea if we can.
Yep. So
it was quite interesting. There was a list that was put out, I think, today, where they ranked who they thought were going to be the best players. And, of course, they had Daisy Pearce at number 1. I'm still kind of meh about her at number 1. I actually think Brendan from the Bulldogs is better. And they had Chelsea at 4. I'd actually put Chelsea up a little bit higher. And they had Moana Hope below her as well. I'd put her up higher too.
Oh, I couldn't stand that movie. Oh, we still... My daughter loved it. I couldn't stand it.
Moana.
As we move towards the... I think we've probably got 10 minutes to go. Should we have a little bit of a chat about the Adelaide the men's pre-season and how we think that we're going. Obviously interstate now, so I haven't had a chance to get out and see any training, but obviously there is the mandatory Brad Crouch injuries, which it wouldn't be a season if we didn't have those. But any other news?
Thompson's got a bit of a niggle as well, I think, hasn't he?
Shoulder,
that's right. I'm just bringing up the update here. He's got a shoulder strain. Crouchy's done a hammy. What else have we got?
Well, he hasn't really done the hammy because at the training he was kicking. Yeah, he was kicking, and if he's kicking, it's not that bad.
Yeah, but geez, you don't like hamstrings early in the season. They can carry on all year, and he needs. Brad Crouch can. Brad Crouch needs to have a breakout season this year, or else his future at the club's going to be severely called into question, I believe. It's time for him to deliver on the promise, I think. Who else have we got? We had a couple of blokes on limited programs. Luke Brown, Cheney, both had groins, I think. Alex Keith.
Yeah, Lynch.
What was wrong with Keithy? Did he have a shoulder as well?
Knee. So they're just working him back in.
Yeah,
he's one whose body's got to take a little while to adjust.
I thought also what was extraordinary news to come out in the pre-season was the rumours, the strong rumours that emanated from the West in relation to Mitch McGovern and the fact that he was on the radar of both Perth clubs to the tune of, they're talking, $500,000 a year next year. What do we think of those rumours that were coming out of the West?
I think they're inevitable, Pete.
That was always going to happen.
His contract got extended, didn't it? So he's up at the end of next season, is that right? 2017 or 2018?
The end of this season.
Yeah. End of this season.
The end of this season.
Yeah.
This is his third year at the club.
Yeah. Look, and I think we have to be realistic about the situation. If Fremantle want a high-flying forward and Nat Fyfe doesn't want to sign up, I'm sorry, Mitch.
We'll do a swap.
I love you, but on your bike. So, I'd love to keep Mitch at the club. I think he's an excitement machine. There's a bit of mantra about him, to be honest, and it'd be great to have in the club for 10 years, but he's going to carry some currency. If he continues with his form line and his progression and he gets more opportunities and takes them, he's going to have some currency, particularly at Fremantle, who despite their off-season, are still probably a little bit light in the forward line. So that'll be an interesting one to play out. Dusty Martin has also put off contract talks until the end of the season, and there's already scuttlebutt around about him moving on. Whether we can attract him to Adelaide or whether that's even a possibility is yet to be seen, but I would imagine that Dusty's not going to be at Richmond next year.
Yeah, weirdly, some West Coast supporters who went sniffing around it, and then they said, well, the rumour is to the Crows. And we're all sitting there going, huh?
So that's going to have Patrick Dangerfield connotations, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Particularly, I don't see Richmond improving this season, 2017. So with their poor performance and Dusty wanting out, they're going to have an interesting season, Richmond.
How old is he, Dusty Martin?
Is he 30 yet?
No.
He'd be
he's younger than that.
Maybe 28.
I thought he was only about 25.
Oh no!
Yeah,
he's free agent, isn't he? He'd be a free agent, so he'd have
maybe
to
26,
27 or something like that by the end of the season.
He'd be a handy pickup.
Oh God, yeah, he'd be fantastic in our midfield. Let's not start that conversation again, Pete. We've got Tommy Rockcliffe, Dusty Martin. And,
They're all coming. They're all coming.
He's 25.
There you go. You were right.
Yeah, so he
turns 26 this year.
He'd be a very good pickup.
You'd throw the checkbook at Dusty, wouldn't you? Well, and now that his old man's in New Zealand and he hasn't got, maybe just wants to get out of, maybe just wants to get out of Melbourne. Time will tell on that one. I'll tell you what I'm interested to know, though, you guys, and it's a pity Macca's not on tonight. He's still in hibernation, the poor old bloke. And I don't know where Dan
I wonder
is.
is he going to remember to turn up next week to the meeting?
Oh dear, I hope
We
so.
love you, Macca.
I want to know, I was thinking about this while I was madly trying to set up and remember how to do things tonight. What's your New Year's football resolution? We all make resolutions. Do you have a New Year's resolution with regards to football? Nikki?
No, I don't make resolutions. I've never done it. I'm sorry.
What about you, Pete? Anything?
Gee, it's a question. Big question without notice, there, mate.
I know.
I hadn't really given it much thought.
Well, give it some thought because I reckon next week we might just have a little bit of a chat just to give you an indication. I'm making a resolution here and now on the CrowCast. He says, banging his fist on the table. I will lay off Josh Jenkins as long as Josh Jenkins kicks goals. So I'm willing to. Last season, despite him kicking goals, I just wasn't happy with him because he wasn't taking marks for being a centre-half forward. I am prepared to give the big number 4 a break as long as he continues his goal-kicking output. But if he starts slacking off, he's out and I want Harry Deer in. So that's my New Year's resolution.
I mean, and that's quite good. Look, there's a resolution that I have, and I have it at each and every home ground at Adelaide Oval, and as I walk in there, just as I enter the gate, I resolve with myself that I refuse to spend any more money on ridiculous beer and food prices and drink prices at Adelaide Oval. Yeah. And that generally lasts around about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Before I get nagged to go and buy stuff.
Yeah. It's
considering we get there almost when the gates open because we go up to the Lindsay Head bar to meet our friends. Yeah, that doesn't work for our family because we buy it straight away, like 2 hours before the game starts.
And can you end up actually doubling your 11-game cost and your membership cost? Could you actually end up doubling that just through food and drink at Adelaide Oval?
Oh, I think you could do that.
Oh, God, yes,
Pete.
Easily.
I think you could do that just with a pie.
We rarely do the food. Oh, and they're lukewarm.
Oh, yeah, that's shocking. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one.
Here's something interesting. Who do you think's actually going to be the breakout player? Who's going to take that next step this year for our team?
Pete, you can go first on that one.
Well, I'm kind of tossing up between Crouch and Cameron. Matt Crouch, that is.
Brad Crouch needs to have one. I don't know whether he's got it in him body wise. Matt Crouch is the one for me. I think Matt Crouch is going to step up in the absence of Scotty Thompson. Hopefully, he learns to kick more than 20 metres.
He's a lot fitter.
Yep.
No, he's a lot fitter.
I reckon Matty Crouch is the one for me. Charlie Cameron, I'd love to see it, and I think he's got a place higher up the ground. I hope he makes the most of his opportunities because he can be a bit in and out. But if he can stay in contests for longer and stay in games for longer, he's going to be a weapon across that wing and midfield area as well. So, but Matty Crouch is the one for me that will stand up, and his brother has to stand up. So that's going to be interesting to watch.
Oh, I'm going to stick with a tried and true favourite of mine and say that I think that even though he had a very, very good year last year, I think that the Rat has elevation left in him. I think that he still has a level to go to. I don't think he's reached where he can go to, and I think that I think he will be tremendous for having had that experience against Sydney, where I thought he was certainly one of our best in terms of getting hold of the football at times where players just could not get hold of the football. It was unfortunate that he did not have the nerve at that time under that pressure to be able to make the decisions and dispose of the ball as we know that he can. So I think that that will be a great learning curve for him. But I think that you can take a lot out of the fact that, as I said, at a time where our midfielders could not get hold of the ball, he could.
I reckon you're right, Pete.
I think that he just needs to settle himself down a little bit. I think that, having had that experience, I think that he'll now be able to take that next step. He's in absolutely rip-snorting condition. I've seen a couple of photos of him. He's in excellent condition. He's done all the right things again. So he's had his second really strong pre-season in a row, and so I think that we'll see a little bit more of the rat on the inside in the midfield, and a bit better distribution from him as well. So that's my tip.
Self-belief is the key for him, I reckon, Pete. You hit the nail on the head. A little bit more confidence, and that final series, I think you're right, will stand him in good stead. It'll be interesting to see how it goes this year.
I think that confidence has already been on show because we've had
real pressure,
the noises. How it is on show is that he's actually been mentoring Charlie.
Yeah.
So he's actually taking a leadership role to say, this is where you need to go. These are our patterns. This is where we run. So even though this is a player that is coming in that is faster than him, could be taking his spot, but he's going, no, I'm going to help you because that's what's good for the team.
Now, who's the bolter, just before we finish up? Who's the bolter? We got blokes like Huey Greenwood, Tom Today. Who else have we got running through? Maybe a Harry Deer, a couple of, maybe even a Gallucci or probably more so Miles Behold.
Miles, yeah.
He's a dead set gun, I reckon. Who's your bolter this season, Nick?
I would love it to be Greenwood. There's just something about him, and just bringing him in, mix into our midfield, and then you can throw him up forward for a rest as well. He's just that really good height, really good athleticism. And Pete, you've seen him in the SANFL. He's such a competitive beast.
Yeah, he's great. I would love it. I would love it to be Hugh Greenwood, but I'm going to go for somebody different. I'm going to go for a player that I don't particularly like.
Nice.
I'm going for a player who I have previously thought would not make it. And a player who I could not get my head around, and I was away at the time, but I could not get my head around why on earth we traded for this particular player. I thought that he wasted opportunity at his previous club, and I saw nothing that would suggest to me that he would go on and be a player. So with that fabulous introduction, I
think I can guess who it is.
From what I'm hearing and what I'm saying, I think that it may well be Curtly Hampton that may come in and play a role and actually get himself a spot.
Yeah, I'm with you. You stole my thunder on that one, Pete. I'm a bit more of a fan than you are of Hampton, but by all reports, it won't be through lack of trying this season, and he's staying down. The other one, just as a point of difference, I reckon Tommy Duday might get a bit of a run this year, and he may surprise a few people. Yeah, I think he may surprise a few people.
Yeah, I agree with that one as well.
Whether he runs off a half-back line or he could even, if Lukey Brown doesn't come up well from that groin and doesn't recapture his top-level form, I reckon there's a chance that Tom Duday might play in the last line there because he's agile enough. And he could provide a little bit of a defensive option as well as a rebounding option. So that's going to be interesting to see how he tracks. But I reckon he might get a bit of a run at it this year.
Now, Pete, I was actually asked on the board as somebody who goes to a lot of the SANFL games as to whether he was quick or not. And I kind of replied that Duday. So Tom Duday. No, he's not quick, but he always gets there. I think it's his ability to anticipate and read the ball, and he knows what his limitations are. For me, it'll be what that step up will be like from the SANFL to the AFL. He cottoned on fairly quickly in the SANFL, which he came from a big step up from playing underage or the under 18s. So that's a hell of a step up. But from the SANFL to the AFL, we know is a really big change in terms of the speed. So for me, it's whether that anticipation that he has that he's so good at as to whether that can translate fairly quickly in the AFL.
Yeah, what I will say for him, he has astonishing closing speed. So his capacity he might not look quick around the ground, but his ability to get to contest on his man is pretty good. All right, look, we will wind it up there. Just whether the appetite, we could start now that we're getting into it. We probably all realise that we could sit and talk footy for another year, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So we had a great time doing it last year, and we'll do it this year. And we're glad that all the listeners out there have enjoyed what we do, and we look forward to bringing the CrowCast to you again in season 2017. Phoenix, thanks very much for all the work you do, and Nikki, great to have you along again.
Cobwebs are off, Pete. Away we go.
We've blown out the cobwebs, and don't forget everybody to hop onto to Facebook or Twitter and let us know what questions you want asked of Fags, and we'll do our very, very best. And look out for CrowCast for 2017. Catch you next week.
See you guys.
See ya.